All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Readers. I wasn't planning on covering these again, but there is a lot to talk about, so we'll look at Open, BBAI, and SOFI one more time on this video. There's just a lot to like, right? We were looking for the break of all the moving averages. We have a little doji next to a really important line that we've been talking about, and then that's a nice little confirmation, right? We definitely love it if we can keep going. We've got almost 10, almost 12, and a little over 14 as the next steps up. We'll talk about expectations, and man, I am starting to re-love these lower indicators. I think as much as I'm liking this, as much as I love a double-digit day, right? I'm really liking what's going on down here, and I think that's what's starting to get me excited, all right? BBAI, listen, I would have never guessed this candle. All right. I think I remember saying it. The most educated thing I can say about the way down is just don't lose six. We did not lose six. And if you look in the box over there, the low of the day was only 6.01. By a penny, we held the important thing, right? So easily, if you watched my video after the earnings, I would have never guessed that this candle was going to happen. Today makes a lot of sense in my head, right? We were talking about the 660 line so much. And really, if you just waited for that 660 to break, you would have caught most of today. Let's see if we can confirm and continue. That's really what we're looking for, right? 777, that slot machine. That's still what we're looking for on this, all right? Listen, the first stock was a 10% day. The second stock was an 18% day. If you're looking at SOFI, you're not looking at the percentages, all right? SOFI, this candle is wildly amazing, all right? This to me looks like a 40% day, and obviously it's not, but SOFI isn't about the big swing. SOFI is about to go, and it's already going, and we're going to talk about to the penny why this line matters, all right? I'm going to delete the line because it really isn't a line to keep, but this is as amazing as that 18% of the 10% that I just showed on the first two. For real, SOFI is doing the SOFI thing, all right? I want to talk about the market. That's the last thing we're going to talk about on the opening thoughts. Look, this is a little bit of a... Okay, so actually, I should have started here. Let's look at the Dow Jones, all right? Normally, I look at the Dow Jones last, all right? Dow Jones is doing the best of the three. Dow Jones is over all the moving averages. Dow Jones did confirm yesterday. That is a Monday's candle got back over all five. Tuesday's candle confirmed. We're now continuing. This is beautiful, right? This is what the Dow Jones, like, that's beautiful. We have a 70 RSI. We have a positive MACD, green over red. Like, this is the best of the three. When we look at the S&P 500, hey, this isn't bad, but it's not as good as the Dow Jones. All right, Monday got us over all the moving averages. I would not call this by any means the same level of confirmation. We actually still have a green candle that we, obviously there's the dojis as well, right? But we've closed higher than we've closed in these last 2 days. Dow Jones doesn't say that. That's the highest green candle ever. I don't need to zoom back. Trust me on that, right? So Dow Jones is the best. S&P 500 is next. All of a sudden, NASDAQ's the one that's the sluggish one. NASDAQ almost went below the 8 moving average today, actually wicked below the 20 at some point, right? Like, I don't know why this one's as sluggish. Obviously, the simple answer is, hey, there's been a lot of runs, quantum went up crazy, AI went up crazy, it just needs, listen, that's not who I am. That's not how we trade on this chart readers world, right? Things that go up keep running, and I don't understand why this is not. The only real credible headline right now I'm maybe saying did something was the SoftBank sale of Nvidia. Now, if you look at the details, what they did was they basically sold Nvidia and put all that money into buying OpenAI. I get it. That makes sense to me. If I had the money and the connections, I probably would do that too, right? The issue is one's public and one's not. So a big sell of the public one and then not moving the money back into the market, moving it into a private stock, that probably did something, all right? And again, that's very opinion based. I don't have a lot of facts behind that. I'm just kind of putting the words together in my head, and those are the educated thoughts and opinions I can come up with, right? So I'm going to give that story a little bit of credit, but at the minimum, what I have to start doing is looking a little bit more Dow Jones than tech heavy NASDAQ than I normally do. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to make the main point of this opening thoughts. The last thing I'll leave it with, just because again, you know I love tech, you know I love me the NASDAQ. Hey, we're still over the 8. It's not pretty. Yesterday we opened under the 8, but hey, we closed over it. It's not pretty, but hey, we're still over the line. And in my world, you're either over the line or you're under the line. And hey, we're at least over it with the other two looking a little bit better. So hopefully that's sector strength. Because hey, we're basically looking at some tech stocks in this video, right? Open BBAI specifically, right? So cool. Before we do go any further though, and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do. We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel, share this video online, comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms, but for real, just being here, giving me your time, yo, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So, look, I normally start up here. You know I love talking about double-digit gains. We gotta talk about down here. And I think the first place to talk, as good as the MACD looks, as good as the RSI looks, yo, we gotta talk about volume. And before we talk about today, we're gonna look at the last just weeks on weeks on weeks on months, right? Like basically since early September, right? Because in this late August, early September, we were nicely living or over the 50-day line. Look, all we're doing with this white line is looking at the average volume. All right, this is the C student over the last 50 days in terms of the volume number. All right, you just gotta do at least average volume to even have a shot at going up. And hey, as you break average, as you're that B plus A minus student, oh, you're gonna get a bumper sticker, right? Everyone loves it. So we were doing really well. And then after this September 8th moment, we only have 3 candles that are over the white line. I'm gonna start zooming in, right? Everything else is either, like I shouldn't see white, right? Like there should be some color above it. All of these, except for those 3, are under the white line. And in that time, we went more flat than that. Like normally when something like this happens, you see that. You see a hard drop, like boom, maybe to the 200. Honestly, I'm surprised we even come to the 100. We came close to it, right? But it did a good job of holding despite that the volume wasn't there. All of a sudden, we now have our first nice 3 days. Even getting rid of these 2, yo, that's a really nice few days right there, right? It wasn't the start of the uptrend. It obviously started on this day, but volume has a nice little steady growth, and it now kind of seems like we're getting ready to get over the 50-day line. Because what happens is as you get these, on this single day, we almost got 2 billion shares traded. Let's go look at BBAI real quick. Let's go look at a monthly. In a full month, on this month right here, it got 2 billion, right? The other one just got 1.9 on a single day, right? So not open on the month here, right? So crazy outlier things are going to happen. All of a sudden your white line goes from down here to all the way up here, right? Mainly from this thing. As it goes away, the white line starts coming back down to reality. And hey, we're now seemingly at a place where we can beat the volume. I like that. On top of that, we now have a MACD that's back in the positive, green over red. We now have an RSI that's green over red. I like the unison. Very healthy 66. It wasn't that long ago we were up here at 81. It wasn't even that long ago that we were at 96, right? So take me from 60 to 80, and let's talk about 80 and beyond, right? But there's at least plenty of room from 60 to 80. And again, we talked about MACD, green over red, and positive, right? So from there, the lines are here, right? We're basically looking for 890, sorry, wow, dyslexic, 990, okay, 1170, and 1420. I'm rounding a little bit, but you see the lines right there, right? That is what we're looking for on the way up. As long as we don't lose $8.90, this thing is incredibly bullish. Truth be told, as long as we actually stay above 810, we're good to go. And that's the last thing I'm going to say. This 810 line, good candle, no confirmation. Kind of something should have happened there, but the 8 moving average is what screwed us over, right? But couldn't go, testing, testing, testing. Like, this has been a tough line. This is literally since that 8th volume drop that we talked about down here, the issue has been the 810 line up here, right? So volumes correcting, 810 lines correcting. I like that combo right there. I do wish the NASDAQ was looking just a little bit better, but you know what? As you look at the sector, real estate is kind of Dow Jones. Real estate is nothing but houses. And houses are Dow Jones, right? You're talking about building, construction, all that sort of stuff, right? So maybe NASDAQ not doing as lovely, maybe that'll kind of get corrected, all right? So we'll flash the weekly really quickly. Yo, this is a good weekly, right? We were all the way at 89. We're right back down to 72. Take me from 70 to 80. That's a couple weeks of good trading. We'll talk about 80 and beyond if we have to, right? So I'm liking it. I am. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's come into BBAI. And look, I think there's two easy things to say, all right? Number one, the market is a crazy, crazy, illogical beast, all right? And you drop some real good earnings, you gap up and you open all the way up here. Look in the box over there. You open at 694. And then you end up coming all the way back down to basically 6, right? Like, that's incredibly crazy. It really, really was, right? I joked a bunch of times saying, hey, I would have bet a paycheck that it was going to go the other way, right? The one thing that we asked for, the one thing that was the only requirement was, hey, just hold the 8, all right? Hold the 8. And again, you gotta remember, there's a reason why I say after hours are crazy. Believe me, there's some after hours moments that are just too hard to ignore, and you do attack it, right? I'm sure some people actually, if I hope you sold, but you could have made a real good profit at the open up there, right? So like, there are ways to play after hours and pre-market numbers, but generally, there's a reason why I stress regular hours matter the most, because that's where you see the truth, right? Like, I don't care where you open, I care where you close, okay? The main thing on the other side, right? Because I said hold $6, that was the low side. The real important thing was to break 660, right? 660 was this cluster of 3 moving averages, the 20, the 50, and the 100. Right? 660 would get us over this little humanly drawn line that I put right there around the 650 range, right? And let me zoom out, not zoom in. 660 is what was it? It was the 20 moving average. That's why I was saying. And 660 was at least the 20 moving average on the weekly right there, right? So 660 was a big line. It was important that we got over it. And you basically saw it on the weekly. It's now taking us nicely over the 8, right? So we're in a decent place right now. We just need tomorrow to confirm, right? Like, this is just a single candle over all the moving averages, right? We need the confirmation. I think I'm looking for this. We need to close at or around 770. Okay, what's this at? 769. I'd actually be okay with 769. Get me to the top of this candle, because that already puts me inside this candle, right? So let me close at 770. I'll call that confirmation. It's basically another 10% today. Otherwise, hey, we can come as low as 675. As long as we can hold 675, I'll be happy with that. I don't want to come back down to this line, because now I'm going to be under too many moving averages, right? So don't go below 675, break 775. That's really the goal. And if we break 775, my next line up is at 980. Green, 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 red, 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 nothing, 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 green, 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 red, 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 nothing, nothing, nothing. It should be a fast channel. Again, I'm loving my lower indicators. Yeah, ooh, excuse me, a little hiccup, sorry. MACD's not quite positive, MACD's not quite green over red, but hey, I like that RSI. That's a good green over red. That's a nice, very healthy 54. Yo, that's a lovely volume with a good back-to-back, and like that looks realistic to continue in a nice, healthy slope, right? So let's start looking for that 770 and like, let's break it. That's the goal, right? As you look at the weekly says it's okay to come back down to this 654 because again, you're at least still around that 20 moving average. I'm still gonna say it one more time. Don't lose 675. I think that's a good line down. All right. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Last but certainly not least is SOFI. And look, I drew this line in the opening thoughts. I don't want you to think I magically knew that this was going to come to the penny to close. That's not what this line was. But SOFI is a beautiful, beautiful candle right now. And why did I draw that line? Just to show it. There is no candle that is closed over that line. This is our all-time highs candle. All right. I realize we've had a wick moment right there. I realize actually today took all-time highs to that line right there instead of down here. But this is the candle we were waiting for. This is the escape from the 20s, right? It took a good while to get over, and then we kind of came back and then just bounced and back. Like this 26 line was actually rather annoying. But you know what? Once the 50 came, it almost was no looking away except for that little outlier a couple days ago. That was an annoying little 26 line, all right? It now feels like we are getting ready to go. And I said it in the beginning, I'm going to say it one more time. I know this only looks like a small 4%. Yo, this is a big, beautiful candle. And if you really want to know the truth, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I think it's unfair to Palantir. Palantir has government contracts, and Palantir is a different company than SoFi. But Palantir spiked, goes horizontal, falls, regains the horizontal that it previously lost, and then it never looked back. Okay? SoFi pops, not as horizontal, but you can kind of see where the horizontal is right there, right? But it drops, there's still that horizontal right there. It does horrible. It comes back to the horizontal, and then I'm assuming it will never look back. All right? And again, SoFi and Palantir are not the same stock, but technicals kind of let things, equal out when maybe arguably they shouldn't. And man, all I'm seeing is the candle go into all-time highs, green over red on both the MACD and RSI. Very, 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 very healthy 61. And all this thing knows how to do is just stay at or around the 50 line and go up, right? Like with those other stocks, I get really, really panicky sometimes when we're not near the 50, right? Not with SoFi. Look at this moment right here. All right, in this 2-week window, look how far we are from that white line most of the time. Yo, that 2-week window goes up. Ridiculous. But you know what? That's what SoFi is. And I'm telling you, SoFi, this was significantly lower than those first two in terms of percentages, but equally, if not maybe more beautiful than those other two. All right, it's all about that perspective. And look, you know me, I'm not a slow and steady guy, but this just screams slow and steady money coming into your bank. You know what I mean? So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so much.